So, we're going to have an amazing conversation with Source today in a channel download about how rifts and the frequency of grudges keeps us from having financial flow in our life and in our bank account. So, Ali, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the call. I just wanted to start with a contemplation as we go into that connection that we have with Source, which is the highest expression of ourselves. And when we reach that, it's the feeling that we're looking for to feel when we're creating. So, we're going to start first in the mindfulness that we must first have a desire. And that desire is predicated upon something that we had an intuitive urge to create. But the thought is not enough to bring it into fruition, to bring it into manifestation. So, what I'm telling you is that with every desire to create something, to draw something to you, is an awareness that first there's a desire. And that desire becomes an urge, it becomes a yearning. But the yearning and the urge are not enough because the urge and the yearning put what you want to manifest into the future, right? And so when we want to call something to us, let's say it's a wealth code, right? And let's just use that as our example today is our wealth code. You want to create something, you want to make it happen, you want to change the climate of your manifesting in regards to financial prosperity. And yet there's a skip in the record from where you desire it to where you bring it into fruition. And today we're going to talk about rifts and grudges. So, a rift in a communication, a schism, a skip in the record, a misunderstanding with somebody that you hold value to. And even you could say, well, it's a rift at work and I don't hold value, right? But there is, because if there was no value, it wouldn't be a skip. You would have like a shut offness feeling when it comes to feeling that something's standing in the way. So it might not be somebody that you hold in esteem. It could just be someone who is valuable to moving forward. When we have a rift, it's an energetic bump in the road. It slows down your progress. So any judgment, any worry, anything that causes an internal rift in you, whether it's an outside person or an inside feeling of judgment, fear, anger, lack, poverty consciousness, it's literally standing in the way like an energetic wall to your progress. I want you to take a moment to feel the difference between what is a thought of worry, a thought of being held back, a thought of not being able to accomplish your desired outcome, and all the silly feelings, whether you feel they're silly or not, but all of the feelings that may be more on the trivial side, right? You know, you really understand those big feelings where you've had a big blowout and you know you're not clear. But I'm speaking not only to the obvious rifts in your life, the obvious withholdings, the obvious judgments. I'm speaking to the unspoken ones. all of us have to cross that bridge of transformation within ourselves, that we trust that we're capable of change, that we're capable of transformation. It's innate to us to have that need to be able to self evaluate and truly be accountable for the energy that we are dancing with in our lives. And if you see a repetitive cycle happening where you're wanting things, but you're not able to close the deal for yourself. And what I mean by closing the deal is you know that you're doing the manifestation work. There's all these methods. They're 3-6-9 method, right? Or the method of writing down your desires so you can bring them into belief. The method of looking at yourself in the mirror and speaking it to your truth, the reflection of you. There are so many wonderful ways to teach yourself how to manifest. But when you are not actually able to manifest, when you are listening to all the YouTube videos that are very clear, right? There's so many wonderful little reels. In 90 seconds, they tell you how to solve that problem or this problem. It's so wonderful. We're in this age of technology. But if you're not closing the deals on your desires, and I'm going to say that again, and just close your eyes. If you're not closing the deals on your desires, what is your speed bump that's slowing down your ability to create? What is the speed bump that's slowing you down so that your beliefs maybe are not coming through very easily, or they're not even birthing at all? I want you to, in this now moment, realize again, which is a repetitive practice, and so it's something that we'll always do, is to take an awareness scan of your body. You'll hear me breathe with you. And just breathe from your heart. Take an inventory of any kinds of feelings that are coming up for you, where there's any restriction, any pain, any resistance when you go to breathe in your heart energy. There you go. Now, since we're talking about rifts today and judgments, I want you to do an exercise with me so that I can help you to identify this first layer of where you might be getting stuck. So it'll be really fun. We might remove the very thing you've been looking to remove all along in today's message. And as I begin to answer, I feel a new level in my own body of this loving source energy that fills me with the knowledge to speak to you from no preparation, just off the cuff, downloading for you exactly what you need. And so give yourself permission to actually know that this message is for you, this small group of you that are listening has been the group that Spirit is responding to with this loving reflection of exactly what you need, because I'm reading your fields. And the wonder of that alone, to be read at a distance in such an accurate way, is where it really begins, that you are already in receivership of that which you want to create. And let me say that again to you as you breathe. You are already in receivership of that which you want to create. So we go to your body, firstly your heart, and we say, Where is it that you feel blocked? Now, that's going to either come through as a physical feeling. You might feel my left side of my heart feels blocked. Now, when you're scanning your heart center, you might feel it in your hip. hmm You might feel it in a shoulder. You could feel it in a finger that you sprained 5 years ago. All of these places are little nets where our stuckness, our resistance to being all that we are designed to be in our highest, is catching us in this net of whatever framework we created that creates a hardship for ourselves. So, in this moment, I want you to drop your mind down to the level of your heart. Drop your mind to the level of your heart. Breathe. And drop your mind to the level of your heart. There you go. Feel how that feels different. Feels different. Breathe. That's right. Let your body breathe you now. You've been bringing awareness to your breath by dropping your mind, which is probably in your whole head, starting to feel a little tingly and excited. And then you'll feel your body catch up. It will start to feel excited as well. There you go. I'm breathing with you. And together, no matter where you are, no matter where you hear this, no matter when you're listening to it, it's being activated at the 0 point of the all time space continuum. So you are literally tapping into my field at this time, and we are together in a now moment because time is an illusion. So know that when I'm breathing that life into you, that we are superseding time as we know it to be together in prayer, to be together in acknowledgement of really what the Course in Miracles calls a holy instant. So when you get that window, that flash of light, that instant like aha moment, no matter how small, no matter how big, breathe. There is a breath of relief. And then when you begin to feel that breath of relief, an emptiness starts to descend into your body. That is a letting go. And it is an emptiness of grasping. It's an emptiness of judgment, right? It's melting away any resistance that known or unknown you've been holding as tight and rigid in your body. It's giving you permission to not feel the things that are keeping you stuck in a web of your own demise, right? So, demise, it sounds like such a maybe a extreme word, but the truth is, when you withhold love from your body, when you withhold awareness because you're stuck on a feeling about a rift, a situation, something in your circumstance. So we could call it a situationship, where sometimes we use that to describe relationships that we don't know how to define. But a situationship or a circumstance ship could be relationships with your now moments where you slip into an awareness of withholding energy. That could be at work. That could be in a dynamic with a boss. That could be in a familial ancestral lineage, a bloodline, where you notice that you just really want to break free of any of the money language that you might have inherited through your family tree. And you've come to be different. You've come to be a light at the end of the tunnel for your bloodline, right? You came to change things because we have this repetitive herstory of knowledge. And then everyone else in the family believes it. even though they say they do or don't, right? They can say that they have the ambition, but then they're not able to follow through or they lose everything. Somebody needs to teach that bloodline, which we are in this now moment, that it takes a moment in the emptiness. Emptiness equals nothingness. And you say, but it's not nothingness, Allie. I have somethingness, right? Well, the nothingness is really what I'm speaking of is non-judgment. That your preconceived ideas, your programming, your own codes. And in this moment today, I'm talking about wealth codes. It's hard to have wealth codes if you have a lot of repetitive belief systems held by those who walked before you in your bloodline, where things were very hard for them. Now, sometimes you'll find that that's not true. You have the wealth in the bloodline, and then you can't figure out why you can't perpetuate it. Now, when I say wealth, I am talking about monetary so that you could have an example, but it isn't really just that, is it? Right? There's wealth of love, there's wealth of connection, there's wealth. For me, abundance of that which we most want to create is wealth. Health is wealth. So maybe for some of you, there is an example of success that walked before you, but an unconscious judgment of how they got it, how they behaved with it. If you're a very generous person and they're stingy, sometimes we can have an apprehension about creating more wealth so that we don't become like that, right? Today I'm talking about going in with a divine eraser and being willing to accept that there might be some really weird glitches on what you're getting hung up on. That you might say, I'm here with you, Allie. I understand what you're saying. I just don't know what mine is. Well, the beauty of what I'm talking about today is you actually don't need to know the specific. It's always nice to identify it. And what you'll find is when you are able to identify it, like, oh, my great grandfather, he was like a Scrooge. And then we've always kind of had a feeling of fear that if we were to attract then the kind of wealth that he had, that something would change in our generosity, our spirit of sharing, right? You don't need to identify with anything that I'm saying, but you need to get the larger concept. And the larger concept is a rift is a stuckness. A judgment is a stuckness. Do you want to be stuck or do you want to be unstuck? Say it to yourself. Do I need to be stuck? See if you hear a yes or a no, even if it's totally the antithesis of what you wanted to hear. Has stuckness been serving me? Yes or no? Do I have the willingness to do whatever it takes in the concept of my mind, of how I feel about other people, other situations, other circumstances, on all levels, on all planes, on all dimensions? Do I have an open heart to see where I have bought into a program that I cannot be successful at that which I desire to create? I'll say it again, that I cannot be successful at what I desire to create. No, that doesn't feel good. I'll say it again, that I cannot be successful in what I desire to create. Right. Hear that big no inside of your body. And where do you feel that roar the loudest is your heart. Your mind might feel anger, your body might feel contracted, but your heart, it is the truest source. Your heart will say, no. And so, what you've been hearing, and it's probably been irritating you as I repeat it, because it doesn't feel right. And you'll be like, don't tell me that. Don't repeat those words. Don't let that become my reality. Well, I have to. Because if we talk about what you're doing and we don't talk about you doing it, then it's hard to remove it. So if any kind of guilt or disappointment, fear that you don't have enough awareness, that you're not spiritual enough, that you're not aware enough, who cares? Let it come. I'm not afraid to sit here with you with it. And that's why we're on the call, right? We're sitting here on the call together so you can get into the feelings that you've been hiding from. Do you want to hide from those anymore? No. And don't you love, I mean, because I really love this. I love to kind of smirk at the naughtiness of my spirit when I excavate that it has been stubborn, about releasing some of that story that's keeping me from being able to have what I want. And so is this wealth? Is it weight? Is it resources? Is it something more tangible? Like you don't like where you live, really, Or you kind of like where you live, but you'd really like to live there, not here. I really would like to have this car, not that car. I really like to have this health, right? Health is wealth, wealth is health, because you can't have true wealth without health. We're not really wealthy if we're not healthy. So get everything lined up right now. Are you healthy? Are you healthy? Is your hair and your skin healthy? I mean, let's go to those outer rings. Yes or no? Could it be healthier? Yes. Let's move into another ring. Am I open to look at the uncomfortableness of what it feels like to feel stuck? Am I healthy enough to know that there's a frequency attached to the stuckness that isn't giving me what I really desire? Okay, I just felt that switch. That was a switch. Let's move into a more forward ring of the bullseye. Am I willing to stop punishing myself for what I haven't created? Ah, that's a good one. Breathe that in. That's a fear. And notice when you look at that, that's scary. It's scary to think of how hard you've been on yourself. Are you willing to not be the frequency of hardship anymore? Rifts don't want to be rifts. They don't want to be bumps in the road. They don't want to be the speed bumps that slow you down from what you want. They're just a karmic frequency that builds a wall, but they're not intelligent, actually. They're not out to get you. There's so many times I'm working in session And people will tell me all the people that are against them. And I just smile and think, you're against you. As soon as you don't believe that all these things are going to be against you, including all these people with all these agendas that you have proof about, as soon as you don't believe in those monsters, they either get returned to the source of your belief that put them there in the first place. So you'll find that they lose their job, they move, they don't have any control over you anymore. As soon as you decided, I don't need that speed bump, I don't want to slow down, I'm closer to the ring of my bullseye. And as I say this, I can literally feel the awareness lifting off of your body that you don't need to play in this slower frequency. It feels like you're moving through molasses when you're trying to move through a speed bump. So, any speed bump where you've been putting somebody in the power to slow you down, any job that you've put in the power to slow you down, any circumstance that you've given power to slow you down, I want you to take the blur and I want you to imagine that we're on an app like a Canva app or an Adobe Photoshop. And I want you to just take your finger around that ring and I want you to blur it out. And let that ring of your bullseye, of your target, let that just be a gentle blur that you move through. We're not going to erase it and say, why do you just leave it as a blur, Allie? Because I can't take away the awareness that you have to go through. But I can remove the intensity of the block. And I am doing that right now. So I want you to breathe and receive as I just blur it and just hold it for a second there. And just breathe. Very there you go. There you go. That feeling right there. Now we're in the bullseye. Now the bullseye is it. The it. The I am here. I am in this moment accepting the receivership that I'm ready to forgive all rifts. And that doesn't mean that you know all the rifts that you need to forgive, but we're erasing your need to keep having rifts. We're erasing that need where you create speed bumps. We're calling in your power so that when you do have rifts arrive, you can see the part that you play in your own creating the resistance that's keeping you from the awareness of creating a new reality. And that's what I'm talking about. So in our further discussion, we're going to go deeper into that self-forgiveness. But just for today, the awareness takeaway that I want for you is that you're just going into divine source energy in partnership, and you're going into that divine energy in partnership with your source, the source that created you. And you're just going to say with me, I'm willing to receive the awareness of where I create the blockages that are creating me from manifesting my highest good. And I offer up my complete surrender to be available emotionally, spiritually, physically available, to be in full awareness that I can and will at any time, as I become more aware, delete anything that stands in the way of my true love. And I call it your true love because the true love of what you are is your passion. And when you put these silly things in the way, then your love is not available to create that which you most desire, right? And that's the only thing you need to practice today. Just bring awareness to where you stop yourself from receiving and be very aware of where you create silly interferences because you believe in them, and let them go. And what we're going to move into next, and we're going to give a moment of pause first to really understand that you're dissolving your relationship with, it's actually self-sabotage. And I'm going to say that again. You're dissolving your relationship with self-sabotage through eliminating your perceived rifts and judgments that are keeping you stuck. And so in this next part of the call, and Sean and I are going to give you a pause of awareness. Sean is going to go into her part, which is a very evolved way of dissolving blockages through the power of connecting with Holy Spirit energy and claiming the healing. So we went in and we did the energy reconnection and the dissolving and the removing. And then we're going to come in and we're going to rebuild. And so we encourage you to listen to this many times over and over. And we just want to thank you so much for being with us here. We are here to support you. We love you. And in this time space continuum, as long as you can reach the feeling with us, we are here with you fully. And every single person on this call that has shared your intention and everything that they want for themselves is actually where you maybe have found fault and not been able to do it for yourself, but maybe they could surrogate it. They are. And definitely, Sean and I, in our removing of our own blockages and our own rifts, are holding that space. So in this now moment, we claim your healing of all rifts of your life, all judgments that you hold, known or unknown. And we thank you and we bless you, divine source energy, for this conversation with Source. And so it is.